Hey guys, this is Rich from Unreal RC coming at you with another video. This video is about how to install a Hobbywing Fusion Pro. It's an all-in-one system, so the speed control is built into the motor. It's a 2300 kV, so it has a decent amount of wheel speed. Can crawl really good, and it's good for like heavier vehicles. This case, we're putting it in a 1/10 scale axial base camp. Has like tires, rims, a light kit on it so far. But right now we're going to be installing a brushless motor on it. So let's make that happen. Make a quick video of it, pop off your clips, fairly easy, simple. Move the body off to the side. This is what you got here. We're going to be pulling this guy out. With that, we're going to be pulling out the transmission. Removing the speed control because we don't need it no more. And go from there. All right. So with that being said, we're going to grab our trusty power driver. This is Power Hobbies drill, handheld drill that you can use, power drill. You can use your hex drives in it. Works out pretty good. So check them out, Power Hobbies. I mean, this one here, we use the crap out of these guys. We beat the crap out of them as well. They're rechargeable. So the label's is missing right now, but trust me, this is a Power Hobby power drill. With that being said, I'm going to disconnect the drive shafts just to get that out the way. Right. I'm gonna go ahead and take care of this bottom one here. Just trying to line up the screw where I can get to it. All right, with that being said, both screws are out. These guys should be able to pull out, which they will. I'm gonna make some clearance here with them. This is not that difficult to do. It's just a decent amount of screws you have to take out. I think these screws are a 3 by 8, maybe 10, somewhere around there. Countersunk or recess screws. So these are what they look like. But anyway, they're all the same size, so it's not that difficult. And with that being done, putting your screws off to the side, this guy is already loose. And if you can now see, these axle shafts come out, or drive shafts, excuse me. So now that that's done, I'm going to grab my little trusty clippers. Again, this is another Power Hobby tool that you can get from their website or even from us. I like when we cut the wires or even the zip ties. This gives you a really tight cut, so you don't have no extras laying around. We're going to disconnect this, and with that being said, this is out already. So it's not something that should take forever to do. With that being said, we're just going to move this off to the side. We still have to remove this, but we're going to do this motor first. So remove the vehicle. All right, so now we have this guy here. So we're going to take off the front cover. This cover should expose the gears that are inside of this transmission housing. So, and this is a 2.0 driver. So, and these screws here, they look like they may be the same size. They're 3mm. These are probably about like a 6. They're a little short, but they're there and they work. All right, with that being said, those 2 screws, this guy comes off and you are exposed now to the motor screws that you need to replace. Or just, unfortunately, just take off. So I want to show you guys the proper way of using the drill. If you're going to be using them, one, use some good bits so you know that reassures that you're not stripping out your screws. And second, you drive it in there, and before you hit the power button, you turn it in the direction you're trying to go in, crack the screw, and then hit the driver. If you just hit it with the driver right away, you're just going to most likely strip out the unit. So now the motor's out. We're going to steal the pinion gear off of it. Now I'm just using it to turn it. This guy has a lot of, we can really stress this thing out, and it's been really good. All right, so what I did was grab the pair of pliers and I stuck it underneath the pinion gear and just kind of like prod it up. And then the pinion gear comes out. Let's open this guy up and see what we got. I believe it was a XT60 connector on it, which the customers want. He wants a Traxxas connector. I'll solder that up later on. All right, so yeah, XT60. This is all your wires, your motor. All right, so this is pretty much it. This is your all-in-one. Your motor, your speed control, everything is here. So we do have a power wire and a throttle speed control wire here. So your speed control wire, and then your power wire, and then your power lead. So anyway, thread lock goes a long way, so definitely got to use your thread lock. I don't know why I do this, but I do every hole. Transmission goes on, like yay. Yay. Let's make the wires look really nice. So we're going to stick this guy on something like this. Again, grab my little driver. Now you can clock this wherever you want. I'm going to clock it this way and see how I like it. You really want these wires out of the way if possible. So you don't go too tight with these screws right here because you want to be able to slide the motor in and out and to do your gear mesh. So if this was a high power vehicle, we would be thread locking the shaft because the motor gets hot. In this case, it doesn't get hot, but I'm just going to do it anyway. Slide this guy on. That seems about right. Now that the height of the gear, meaning that they're flush with each other, I'm going to tighten it down. Now that that's done, hold on one second, that doesn't look right. So when I put this gear on, the shaft was like turned. Man, that's hard to turn for whatever reason. For whatever reason, this set screw is kind of tight when you turn it. It's almost like you feel like you're about to strip it. All right, that's on there. Let's do the gear mesh. Some people will use paper. And paper, it all depends on the gear and the thickness of the paper where it will work. So yes, use paper. I typically use the tag that the gear comes with. I use that paper. But if it's a 48 pitch, some papers just don't like to be bent that tight, opposed to a 32 or Mod 1. So I've been doing this long enough where I don't use a paper. What I do is I get the gear close enough, and you want to see it rock back and forth a little bit. Now my guys, when they're working on these cars, they'll ask me if the gear mesh is good, and I can tell them just by hearing it, not even seeing it, if it's fine. But anyway, with that being said, you want it to rock a little bit. So even after you use the paper trick, you should still do the method of rocking it back and forth to see if that works or if the mesh is good. All right, so that mesh right there is too much. All right, that's perfect. All right, so far this is good. I just don't know if I'm gonna like the way that the wires is facing. So I'm gonna stick it in the car, do a dry fit real quick, just to see if I'm happy with the locations of the wire. If I'm not happy with it, I'm just gonna pull the motor out, clock it in another degree, or a different degree, and see what that gets us. Okay, well, that's not bad there. That'll work for me. Straight up and down and come over. So listen, typically I can leave it like this. It works. It works with no problem. Wire comes up, go around, goes into the box here. However, I would like this to be facing over here so the wires will come out really nice into this box and it doesn't come straight out. It gives you like a little cleaner look. So I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna clock the motor where the wires are coming out over here. So with that, I'm just gonna pull these guys out. I'm gonna clock the motor in the desired position that I would like it at, which is gonna be about right there, and put these screws back in. Again, now that you have the screws snugged, I'm going to do my little mesh thing. Now, as you're tightening this screw up, any of the screws, sometimes the mesh, the mesh will move out in and out. So that's pretty good. You know, I'll be quite honest with you. I'm not happy with these screws that they have here. I don't know if I want to use these screws. I like more of a cap head screw, if you can fit it. This is a low profile, which, I mean, they work. It's more of a preference. The problem is, not the... I don't know. So I'm going to stop being picky. I'm just going to leave it like that. Everything is good. That's the way we're going to keep it. Let's get our box back on here. It's basically our cover. It's a 2.0 driver with the electric screwdriver. Easy as that. All right, so it really didn't take that long pulling this guy out, putting the motor in there, and realizing that we didn't want the wires coming up. We want them to come off to the side. Now that we have the cover on, let's put it back in the truck and then see if we're going to be happy with it. So I'm pretty happy with that. The way that the wires are going off to the side makes the motor look a lot cleaner. So I'm going to get the drive shafts back in, and then we're going to remove the speed control and get access to the receiver so we can plug up the wires. And I mean, at that point, I really do believe that that's just going to be it. There's not much more to that. So again, with these big hands is really tough. However, we'll get it in there. Sometimes these shafts that's on the motors or the transmission, they're like a D shape. So you have to put the drive shafts back on a certain way. In this case here, they're not. It's just awkward. But we'll get it. This is not magnetic, so let me magnetic my tip real quick. So rubbing this on a magnetic strip will then turn it into magnetic so it doesn't fall out. So what I'm doing is I'm just trying to make life a little easier. I'm going to put these guys in. Without trying to do it in the vehicle because it's really tight in there. I don't typically thread lock them, but in this case I am. It's gone through like a plastic shield and then into a metal housing. So we'll just thread lock it anyway. All right, so that's pretty much it. Those shafts are on. Now is the fun part, getting it back in the vehicle. It's really easy taking these things apart, and then you gotta take your time putting them back together. All right, that should be it. Keep in mind this drill is not charged. They do hold a good charge, and we work on quite a few vehicles here. And I use a drill as well, just to speed up the process of like when I'm building the car. My guy, one of the guys that's here, works on the cars, he'll use this thing for anything and everything. So all I'm doing is just replacing the screws that I took out of the bottom of the skid plate here. And those screws, technically, all they did was just hold the transmission to that skid plate. They were the same size, all four of them, so you didn't have to figure out which hole it goes back into. And voila, I mean, it is just back together, just like that. So with that turned around, all this up out of the way, I believe the speed control is double-sided taped. So all it takes is just a flathead underneath it. You don't want to pull or lift too fast. You just want to go real slow. And then there he goes, it pops up. All right, these screws here are 1.5. These screws is just holding down the lid for the receiver box. These cars are like water resistant to a certain degree. And what they do is they put these rubber seals around the holes of the wires going into the box. And the box should have a rubber seal on it underneath the lid itself. And that's what kind of protects the receiver that's in here that is not waterproof. So keep that in mind, this receiver in here is not waterproof. All right, with that being said, voila, we're here. We're just gonna pull this up, pull this guy up. Technically don't need this no more. These wires are kind of pinched in here as well. How to get these in here properly, I kind of like use the wire to slice through the rubber and it just works its way down. If they're going to be going in water, which you can only assume that they are, you really want this to be pretty sealed. All right, I'm going to try to get this one in there, and then that's going to be pretty much it. I know that's going to be tight. And the underneath the lid does have a rubber seal, just to let you know. I don't know, this last wire is going to be really tight to get in here. So it's technically just going to be sitting at the top, acting like a seal itself. It's going to have to, if not, you're going to be damaging the wire. So that's just going to have to work like that. All right, so plug up the receiver wire or speed control wire. Tuck the antenna back in there. Make sure all those wires are away from these screw holes. All right. And what we're going to do is pop the lid back on and then drive those screws back in. All right, so for the most part, that's pretty much it. You know, I don't want to drag this video on any longer. I'm going to be switching this connector out to a Traxxas. I'm going to be shortening up the lead because you really don't need all of that. The battery will sit either here or here. So in any direction, this lead will be far enough, even if I just cut it back here. So I'm going to cut the wire back, solder it on the Traxxas connector. And then I'm going to remove the tape that you see here. This is the leftover tape from the original speed control. I'm going to clean all that up. And I'm just going to mount this switch. I'm going to curl this wire up really nice. I'm going to mount the switch maybe like so, and zip tie these wires up really nice. So that's pretty much how I'm going to go about it. I'll take a picture of it once it's done so you guys can see it. But other than that, that's basically how you install a brushless motor in the Axial base camp. It's a 1/10 scale base camp. Real simple, real easy. Everything works. Maybe I can make a video of it driving on a course, but as of right now, we're going to clean up these wires, take a picture of it, and go from there. So you guys have a good day. Thank you for watching this video.